She arrived
Sarah
early for
is pregnant.
Christmas
I'm
and
about to be a
overheard her
father.
husband. "My mill is pregnant." What happened next stunned the family. Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Mr. Peter Stories, your own family story channel. May the heavenly God bless every woman with unwavering strength, endless grace, and a heart that radiates love and kindness. May your days be filled with joy, your nights with peace, and your homes with warmth and laughter. May you be honored, respected, and cherished always, for you are the pillars of families and the light of this world. This Christmas, may every blessing of hope, health, and happiness surround you and your loved ones. May miracles find your path, may love fill your heart, and may your life shine brighter than ever with divine favor. If your heart is true like the video, if your love is real, right, I am with Mr. Peter. Whitney Reed could pinpoint the exact moment she fell in love with Mason Mescal, though she wished now she couldn't. It was a Tuesday night, rain hammering against the windows of a jazz club on 5th Street. She'd been catering a corporate event, exhausted and ready to go home, when a man approached her with kind eyes and asked her name before asking for champagne. Most people treated servers like furniture. Mason treated her like a person. "Whitney," she'd said, surprised. "That's a beautiful name." His smile reached his eyes. "I'm Mason, and I have to know, do you actually enjoy these stuffy corporate events, or are you just really good at pretending?" She'd laughed, something genuine breaking through her professional mask. They talked for 20 minutes while she should have been working. He asked about her dreams, her family, what made her happy. When the event ended, he waited in the rain for an hour just to ask if he could take her to dinner. Their first date lasted until sunrise. They sat in his car outside her apartment talking about everything and nothing, childhoods and fears and favorite songs, and the kind of people they wanted to become. When he finally kissed her goodbye, Whitney felt something she'd never felt before: certainty. This was the man she'd spent her life with. Mason courted her like she was precious. He learned to braid her hair in intricate patterns because she mentioned missing her grandmother doing it when she was young. He'd spend an hour watching YouTube videos, practicing on yarn, until he could recreate the cornrows her grandmother used to make. When Whitney came home tired from work, she'd find him waiting with a chair and gentle hands, braiding while she told him about her day. When she got promoted to senior event coordinator, Mason filled their apartment with sunflowers, her favorite since childhood. He'd called every florist in the city to find the deepest yellow ones, the kind that looked like captured sunshine. The card read, "For the woman who outshines every flower in this room, I'm so proud of you." Their love was built on small, sacred moments. Sunday morning pancakes where he'd deliberately burn the first one because she liked to tease him about his cooking. The way he'd kiss her forehead every morning before leaving for work, whispering, "I love you," like a prayer. How he'd call her during lunch breaks just to hear her voice, saying he couldn't wait the whole day without talking to her. When her father died suddenly of a heart attack, Mason became her anchor. For months, Whitney cried herself to sleep every night, grief pressing down on her chest until she couldn't breathe. Mason never complained, never showed frustration. He'd hold her in the darkness, one hand stroking her hair, the other pressed against her heart, as if he could absorb her pain through his palm. He took time off work to help her sort through her father's belongings, drove her to the cemetery every Sunday, sat quietly beside her while she talked to a headstone. "Your dad would be so proud of the woman you are," Mason told her one night, both of them surrounded by boxes of her father's things. "I promise you, Whitney, I'll love you the way he did. I'll protect you the way he did. You'll never have to wonder if you're cherished." She believed him completely. Their wedding was perfect, small and intimate, just family and close friends under the magnolia tree in her grandmother's backyard. The weather was flawless, clear skies and gentle breeze. Mason cried so hard during his vows he could barely speak. His voice broke on every word. "Whitney, you are my home. You are my breath. You are every good thing I never thought I deserved. I will love you with everything I am, every day of my life. I will never give you reason to doubt me. I will never let you wonder if you're my priority. You are my everything." Whitney's bridesmaid sobbed. Her father's best friend, who walked her down the aisle, squeezed her hand and whispered, "Your daddy's smiling down right now, baby girl." He knew Mason was the one. The early months of marriage were bliss. They moved into the house her father had bought as a wedding gift, a beautiful colonial with a wraparound porch and a garden. Whitney immediately started planning. Mason would come home from work and find her covered in dirt, planting roses and lavender, and he'd join her without being asked. They'd work in comfortable silence, occasionally stealing kisses, planning the life they'd build in this house. But there were moments, small and strange, that Whitney filed away in the back of her mind. Megan. Mason's stepmother was only a decade older than Whitney, a fact that had always felt uncomfortable but not alarming. Douglas, Mason's father, had married Megan a few months after Mason's mother died of cancer. The family whispered that Douglas had remarried too quickly, that grief had made him desperate for companionship, but no one questioned it openly. Megan was attractive, charming, attentive to Douglas's needs. At family dinners, Megan would always position herself next to Mason. She'd touch his arm when she laughed, let her hand linger on his shoulder when she walked past, straighten his collar with an intimacy that made Whitney's stomach twist. When Whitney mentioned it once, Mason laughed it off. "She practically raised me after Mom died," he said, kissing Whitney's temple. "She's just affectionate." "It doesn't mean anything." Whitney wanted to believe him. She pushed down the discomfort. There was the time Megan bought Whitney a dress for Mason's birthday party. "I saw this and thought of you," Megan had said, all smiles. The dress was too tight, the wrong color for Whitney's complexion, unflattering in every way. Whitney wore it anyway, not wanting to seem ungrateful. That night, Megan arrived in a stunning emerald gown that made her look like a movie star. Mason's eyes followed Megan all evening. He barely glanced at Whitney. Family photos always showed Megan positioned next to Mason. At Thanksgiving, at Christmas, at 4th of July barbecues. Whitney would be on Mason's other side, but Megan was always there, pressed close, hand on his arm, leaning into him. Whitney told herself it was random. It wasn't. Megan would remake dishes Whitney cooked, presenting them at family dinners with a smile. Whitney's pot roast was delicious, so I made my version. And somehow Megan's version was always better. Mason would eat seconds of Megan's cooking, compliment her effusively, while barely finishing Whitney's original dish. "You remember how much you loved my pot roast growing up, don't you, Mason?" Megan would say, her voice honey-sweet, her eyes locked on his. "Nobody makes it like you do, Megan," Mason would reply, and something in his tone made Whitney's skin crawl. Late-night phone calls from Megan became routine. "Just checking on your father," she'd say when Whitney answered. But why did Mason always take the phone into another room? Why did the conversations last an hour? The beach vacation last summer was the worst. The whole family rented a house on the coast for a week. One night, Whitney woke at 3 in the morning to an empty bed. She found Mason and Megan on the deck, sitting in the darkness, so close their shoulders touched. They were speaking in whispers, intimate and low. When Whitney opened the door, they jumped apart like teenagers caught kissing. "Couldn't sleep," they said in unison, voices too bright, too cheerful. "We were just talking about Dad," Megan added quickly. "He's been having those dizzy spells." Whitney nodded, smiled, went back to bed. But she lay awake the rest of the night, Mason's warmth beside her feeling suddenly foreign. The Christmas before this one, Megan gave Whitney expensive perfume. "This will look perfect on you," she said. Whitney thanked her, wore it to the family dinner that night, but Megan showed up wearing the same scent. When Whitney walked past Mason, he barely reacted. When Megan walked past, Mason inhaled deeply and said, "God, that smell," with something hungry in his voice. Whitney started having nightmares, dreams where Mason and Megan were laughing at her, where she was invisible, where she'd walk into a room and find them tangled together. She'd wake, gasping, and Mason would pull her close, murmuring reassurances. "Just a bad dream, baby. I'm right here, I'm always right here." She believed him because she loved him, because the alternative was unthinkable. Megan was family. She was married to Douglas. The idea of her and Mason together was disgusting, impossible, absurd. Whitney pushed every suspicion down, explained away every red flag, chose trust over instinct. For months she'd been trying to get pregnant. Mason kept saying they should wait, that the timing wasn't right, that his business needed more attention first. Whitney had undergone testing. The doctors found minor issues, nothing that should prevent pregnancy, but it might take longer than average. Mason refused to get tested. "It'll happen when it happens," he'd say, ending the conversation. But lately, Mason had been distant, distracted. He'd come home smelling like perfume that wasn't hers. He'd be on his phone constantly, smiling at texts he wouldn't show her. Their intimacy had become mechanical, rushed, like an obligation he was fulfilling. "Is everything okay?" Whitney asked one night after he'd rolled away from her immediately after finishing. No cuddling, no tenderness. "Just tired, babe. Work is crazy." Work. It was always work. Today is Christmas. Whitney is driving to the family party at Douglas and Megan's house, a sweet potato pie on the passenger seat. She'd asked Megan months ago what her favorite dessert was, and Megan had gushed about sweet potato pie, how her grandmother used to make it. So Whitney had learned the recipe, perfected it, made it from scratch. But now, driving through familiar streets, she realizes she's never actually seen Megan eat sweet potato pie. Not once at any gathering. The thought unsettles her in a way she can't explain. Mason had gone ahead earlier, saying he needed to help his father set up. Whitney offered to come along, but Mason insisted she take her time, relax, arrive when things were already underway. She should have known then, should have felt the trap closing. Whitney pulls into the driveway 30 minutes early. She wanted to surprise them, to help with final preparations, to be useful. The house is lit up beautifully, warm light spilling from every window. Christmas music drifts faintly through the walls. It looks perfect. Feels perfect. She grabs the pie, walks up the front steps. The door is unlocked. She pushes it open quietly, not wanting to startle anyone. Voices drift from the study. Male voices, Mason and Douglas. Whitney is about to call out when she hears Douglas say something that makes her freeze, 1 foot in the doorway, pie balanced in her hands. "Megan's pregnancy test came back positive this morning." Silence, heavy and terrible. Then Mason's voice, barely audible. "I know." Whitney's blood turns to ice. Her fingers tighten on the pie dish. She should leave, should walk away, should not hear what comes next, but her feet won't move. Douglas, confused. "You know? How would you—" Another silence. Longer this time. When Mason speaks again, his voice is different. Guilty, broken, resigned. "Dad, the baby is mine." Chapter 2. The Truth That Killed Her. The pie slips from Whitney's hands. She catches it an inch from the floor, muscles working on instinct, while her brain shuts down completely. The world tilts sideways. She can't breathe, can't think, can't process the words she just heard. Douglas's voice strangled. "What did you just say?" "The baby Megan's carrying. It's mine." Mason sounds hollow, like he's confessing from the bottom of a well. "It's been mine from the beginning." Whitney sinks to the floor slowly, back pressed against the wall, pie cradled in her lap like a child. Her body is here, but her mind is somewhere else, floating above the scene, watching herself break in real time. "How long?" Douglas's voice cracks on the words. "Since my wedding night." No. Whitney was exhausted from the ceremony, Mason continues, words tumbling out like he's been holding them in forever. "She fell asleep early, around 10. I couldn't sleep. Too much champagne, too much excitement, too much guilt already eating at me because Megan had been suggesting things for weeks before the wedding. I went outside to the garden to clear my head. Megan found me there." Whitney remembers that night. Remembers being so happy, so tired, so full of love she could barely speak. She'd fallen asleep in Mason's arms, dreaming of their future. She woke hours later to find him gone. When he came back around 3 in the morning, his hair was damp, he'd showered, and he smelled like jasmine, Megan's perfume. Couldn't sleep, just needed some air and a shower to cool down, he'd said, sliding back into bed. She'd believed him, kissed his shoulder, whispered, "I'm so happy I'm your wife." "Me too, baby. Me too." He'd fucked his stepmother in the garden and washed her off before crawling back into their marriage bed within hours of saying his vows. Mason's voice continues from the study, each word a knife. Megan said she understood how overwhelming marriage was, how scary commitment could be. She kissed me. I should have stopped her. God, I should have pushed her away. But I didn't. And when it was over, she said it could be our secret, that it didn't have to mean anything. But it did mean something, Douglas says, and Whitney can hear tears in his voice. She called me the next week, said she couldn't stop thinking about me. We met at a hotel, then it happened again, and again. Before I knew it, we were seeing each other twice a week. Then whenever we could manage it, every time Whitney traveled for work, every late meeting I claimed to have, every time you and Megan had plans separately. Whitney's mind races backward through her marriage, viewing every moment through a new, sickening lens. The business trip to Atlanta where she'd called Mason at midnight and he sounded out of breath. Just finished a workout, he'd said. He'd been with Megan. The anniversary dinner where Mason showed up late, distracted, barely touched his food. He'd probably come straight from her. The time Whitney had come home early from a conference and found Mason in the shower at 2 in the afternoon. Rough day. Needed to relax, he'd explained. The jasmine scent in their bedroom, the long dark hair on the bathroom floor that wasn't hers. Every lie, every betrayal, every moment she'd trusted him while he was destroying her. "In our bed?" Douglas asks, voice breaking completely. Silence. Then, "Yes." "In my house?" "Yes." "The beach vacation? When we were all together?" "Yes. In the guest house while you and Whitney went to the market. In the car while Whitney was at the spa. Every opportunity we could find." Whitney tastes blood. She's bitten through her lip without realizing it. The physical pain is nothing compared to the agony tearing through her chest. "Why?" Douglas sounds ancient suddenly, decades older than he did minutes ago. "Why would you do this to Whitney? She loves you. She's been nothing but good to you." "I know." Mason's voice breaks. "I know she has. Whitney is perfect. She's kind and loyal and supportive. She loves me with her whole heart, and I've been destroying her for our entire marriage." "Then why? Why Megan? Why betray a woman who worships you?" "Because Megan makes me feel alive. Whitney makes me feel safe, secure, loved. But Megan makes me feel dangerous, wanted. Like I'm someone worth risking everything for. It's addictive. I've tried to stop. So many times I've tried, but I can't." Whitney's stomach heaves. She presses her hand over her mouth, fighting the urge to vomit. "And now she's pregnant," Douglas says flatly. "She stopped taking her birth control without telling me. She wanted this baby, said it was time we stopped hiding, stopped pretending. She wants us to leave, together, start over, somewhere new." "You're planning to leave Whitney?" "Megan is. She's already been looking at places out of state. She's been moving money into separate accounts. She's been planning this for months." Moving money. Whitney's brain latches onto that detail. Her father left her a substantial inheritance. When she married Mason, she made him a partner in her accounts, trusting him completely. Has he been stealing from her? Has Megan? "Does Whitney know?" Douglas asks. "No. God, no. She can't find out like this. I need to figure out how to tell her. How to make her understand." "Understand?" Douglas's voice turns hard. "Understand what? That you've been fucking my wife for your entire marriage? That you've been lying to everyone who loves you? That you got your stepmother pregnant while your wife has been trying for a baby for months?" "Don't you think I know how fucked up this is?" Mason shouts suddenly. "Don't you think I hate myself? But I can't stop. And now Megan's having my child, my son, the family I've always wanted. Whitney can't even get pregnant. The doctor said she has issues that make it harder. But Megan got pregnant like it was nothing." Whitney closes her eyes. The doctors had said her fertility issues were minor, that it might just take longer. Mason had twisted that into justification for his betrayal. You had a family. You had a wife who loved you. Whitney's too good for me. She always has been. She deserves better than what I've given her. And Megan knows who I really am. My darkness, my weakness, and she doesn't judge it. Whitney stands slowly, mechanically. She sets the pie gently on the floor, the pie she made for a woman who never wanted it. Just another manipulation. Her hands are shaking, but her mind is crystal clear suddenly, sharp as broken glass. She walks to the study door, opens it. Both men turn. Mason's face drains of all color. Douglas looks at her with horror and pity. Whitney, Mason starts. She holds up one hand. He stops talking. How long have I been standing in your foyer listening to you confess? Her voice is eerily calm. Mason opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. Since you told your father the baby is yours, I heard everything. She looks at Douglas. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. You deserve so much better than what they've done to you. Douglas is crying silently, tears streaming down his face. Whitney turns back to Mason. I came early to help with the party. I wanted to surprise everyone. I made Megan's favorite pie from scratch because I wanted her to feel special. Instead, I learned that my entire marriage has been a performance. That every time you said you loved me, you were lying. That while I mourned my father, you were fucking the woman who calls herself my family. Whitney, please, do not speak. Her voice cuts like a blade. You don't get to explain. You don't get to apologize. You had almost 7 years to tell me the truth. You chose lies every single time. She walks toward him slowly. He backs up until he hits the desk. I loved you with everything I had, Whitney says quietly, each word deliberate. I trusted you completely. I built my life around you, and you destroyed me every single day and smiled while doing it. I never wanted to hurt you. You are hurting me, present tense, right now, with every breath you take in my presence. She turns to leave, then stops. Where's Megan? Upstairs, Douglas says hoarsely, getting ready for the party. Whitney nods once. She walks out of the study, up the stairs toward the master bedroom. Mason follows, frantic. Whitney, wait. Let me explain. She whirls on him. If you follow me one more step, I will scream, and everyone at this party will come running, and I will tell them exactly what you've done. Is that what you want? He stops, hands raised in surrender. Whitney continues to the bedroom, knocks once, opens the door without waiting for an answer. Megan stands in front of a full-length mirror, adjusting a cream-colored dress that shows off her barely visible pregnancy bump. She turns, smiling, expecting Douglas or Mason. The smile dies when she sees Whitney. Hello, Megan. Whitney closes the door behind her. We need to talk. Megan's hand goes protectively to her stomach. Whitney, I know everything. I heard Mason tell Douglas about the baby, about your affair, about every lie you've both told for almost 7 years. Megan's face cycles through emotions, shock, fear, defiance, and finally something like satisfaction. She straightens, dropping the frightened act. Then I guess we don't have to pretend anymore. Her voice is different now, colder. Yes, Mason and I have been together since your wedding night. Yes, this baby is his. And yes, we're planning to leave and start our lives together. You can be upset, but it doesn't change anything. Whitney laughs, surprising them both. It's not a happy sound. You think this is about me being upset? You think this is about my feelings being hurt? She steps closer. Megan, you have no idea what you've done. Not to me, to yourself. I won everything. Megan's smile is triumphant. I got the man. I got the baby. I got the future. You got nothing, Whitney says softly. You got a man who betrays the people he vows to love. You got a relationship built on lies and hotel rooms and stolen moments. You got a baby who will grow up knowing his father is a man without integrity and his mother is a woman without conscience. At least I got pregnant, something you've been trying and failing to do. Whitney doesn't flinch. You got pregnant by stealing my husband. Congratulations. You won a man who was mine to lose. Enjoy your prize. She turns to leave. That's it? Megan calls after her. No tears. No begging him to stay. Whitney looks back, and something in her expression makes Megan take a step backward. I don't beg, Megan, and I don't fight for men who don't fight for me. You can have Mason. You can have your baby. You can have your fresh start, but you're going to discover something very soon. What's that? That everything Mason has, his business, his connections, his success, was built on me, my money, my name, my father's legacy. And now that I know what you are, I'm going to take it all back, every single piece, and when I'm done, there won't be anything left for you to run away with. Whitney walks out, leaving Megan pale and shaking. She passes Mason on the stairs. He reaches for her. She sidesteps him without looking at him, like he's furniture, like he's nothing. Whitney, please! She walks out the front door, past her abandoned pie still sitting perfectly intact on the foyer floor, a symbol of everything fake in this house. She gets in her car and drives. She doesn't know where she's going. She just drives, hands steady on the wheel, eyes dry, heart beating so hard she thinks it might break through her ribs. Her phone starts ringing. Mason, then Megan, then Douglas. She turns it off. The world blurs past her windows. Streets she knows become unfamiliar. Time loses meaning. Finally, she pulls into a hotel parking lot, checks in under her maiden name, Reed, not Mescal, never Mescal again. The room is generic and clean and blessedly silent. Whitney sits on the bed, still wearing her Christmas dress, and stares at her wedding ring. The ring Mason cried putting on her finger, the ring that symbolized promises he broke before the honeymoon ended. She slides it off slowly, holds it up to the light, watches it catch and scatter the lamplight into tiny rainbows. Then she sets it on the nightstand and lies back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. She doesn't cry. Crying would mean she's broken. And Whitney Reed is not broken. She's awake, finally, devastatingly awake. And awakened women are the most dangerous creatures in the world. Chapter 3. The Woman Who Became Ice. Whitney doesn't sleep. She lies in the hotel bed watching the ceiling, her mind working through every moment of her marriage with surgical precision. Each memory is now evidence. Each sweet word is now poison. Everything she believed was real was theater. Her phone, still off, sits on the nightstand next to her wedding ring. She knows Mason is calling, probably hundreds of times. She doesn't care. Morning light creeps through the curtains. Whitney showers, washes her hair, scrubs her skin until it's raw. She's trying to wash off the feeling of contamination, the knowledge that every time Mason touched her, he'd just come from touching Megan. It doesn't work. The feeling goes deeper than skin. She dresses in the same clothes from yesterday. She has nothing else. Checks out of the hotel, drives to a department store and buys new clothes, new toiletries, everything she needs. Checks into a different hotel. This one farther from home, from Mason, from everything. She turns her phone on long enough to text her boss. Family emergency, taking personal leave. We'll be in touch. Then off again. For 3 days, Whitney lives in this suspended state. She eats because her body demands it, not because she tastes anything. She sleeps in short bursts, waking from nightmares that are just replays of her marriage. She exists, but barely. On the 4th day, something shifts. Whitney wakes up angry, not sad, not devastated, angry. She turns her phone on. The notifications are overwhelming. Hundreds of calls from Mason, dozens from Megan, several from Douglas, messages from Mason's brothers, her friends, her sister. She scrolls through Mason's messages first. Whitney, please call me. Baby, I'm so sorry. Let me explain. Where are you? I'm terrified. Please just let me know you're safe. I love you. I know I don't deserve to say that, but I do. Please come home. Whitney, it's been 3 days. People are worried. I filed a missing person report. The last one makes her laugh bitterly. He filed a report, Like he's the concerned husband, like he has any right to worry about her whereabouts when he spent almost 7 years lying about his own. She opens her laptop, creates a new folder, starts organizing her thoughts into actionable steps. First, finances. Whitney pulls up her accounts, the joint account she shares with Mason, the investment accounts, the trust her father left her, everything. She starts making calls, her father's lawyer first. "Mr. Harrison, this is Whitney Reed. I need to speak with you urgently about my father's estate and my marriage." They meet that afternoon at a coffee shop far from her neighborhood. Harrison is an older man, someone her father trusted implicitly. He takes one look at Whitney's face and knows something catastrophic has happened. She tells him everything: the affair, the pregnancy, the betrayal. She's clinical about it, presenting facts without emotion. Harrison listens, his expression darkening with each detail. When she finishes, he's silent for a long moment. "Your father had concerns about Mason," he finally says. Whitney blinks. "What?" "Not specific concerns, just instincts. He came to me before the wedding and insisted on certain protections being put in place. The house is in your name only. The initial investment in Mason's business was structured, so you maintain controlling interest. Mason has decision-making power, but you own the foundation. And there's something else." He pulls out a folder. Inside is documentation Whitney has never seen. "Your father set up a trust for you separate from everything else. He's been contributing to it since you were a child. When he died, it transferred entirely to you. Mason doesn't know about it. No one does except me and now you." Whitney stares at the numbers. She's independently wealthy, comfortable for life. Her father protected her even after his death. Her eyes fill with tears for the first time since Christmas. He knew I'd need this. He knew you were strong enough to handle anything, but he wanted to make sure you'd have options." Harrison leans forward. "Whitney, given what you've told me, I recommend we immediately freeze the joint accounts, initiate divorce proceedings, and review every asset Mason has access to. If he and Megan have been moving money, we need to trace it. Do it. All of it." Harrison makes calls while Whitney watches. Within an hour, the joint accounts are frozen. Mason can't access a cent without her approval. She changes passwords on everything, locks him out completely. Next, she calls her father's business partner, Richard Chen. "Richard, it's Whitney. I need to talk to you about Mason's business." They meet for dinner. Richard has known Whitney since she was a child. He watches her carefully as she explains the situation. "That son of a bitch," Richard says quietly when she finishes. "Your father would have killed him. My father gave Mason everything. The seed money, the connections. The first major contract was because of Dad's relationship with you." Richard nods slowly. "Most of Mason's clients are people who did business with your father. They're loyal to the Reed name, not to Mason. What if I asked them to reconsider their contracts?" "You'd be within your rights. Your initial investment in Mason's company gives you significant leverage. Let me pull the partnership agreement." He does. They review it over coffee, Richard explaining the legal language. Whitney's father had been thorough. The investment included clauses about dissolution, about Whitney's ability to call in the debt, about her veto power over major decisions. "You could destroy his business," Richard says carefully. "Is that what you want?" Whitney thinks about Mason's words. "Whitney's too good for me. She deserves better than what I've given her. I don't want to destroy it. I want to take it back. Everything he built with my money, my name, my father's legacy. I want it returned to me." "Then let's get you a lawyer. A good one." Richard recommends someone. They call from the restaurant. The lawyer, Amanda Price, agrees to meet first thing in the morning. Whitney spends the evening in her hotel room researching. She learns about community property, about divorce proceedings, about legal strategies. She takes notes, makes lists, plans. Her phone rings. Mason again. She answers this time. "Whitney! Oh my God, where are you? Are you okay?" His voice used to make her feel warm. Now it makes her feel nothing. "I'm fine." "Fine? Baby, you've been gone for 4 days. I've been losing my mind. Have you? Her voice is flat. Please come home. Let's talk about this. Let me explain. There's nothing to explain, Mason. You fucked your stepmother for almost 7 years. You got her pregnant. You planned to leave me. Those are facts. What's there to explain? I made a mistake. Almost 7 years isn't a mistake. It's a choice. You made it every single day. I love you. Whitney laughs, sharp and bitter. No, you don't. You love what I gave you. My money, my connections, my unconditional trust. You never loved me. You loved using me. That's not true. I'm filing for divorce. My lawyer will contact yours. Don't call me again. Whitney, please. She hangs up, blocks his number, blocks Megan's number, feels nothing. The next morning, she meets with Amanda Price. Amanda is sharp, ruthless, exactly what Whitney needs. I'm going to be honest with you, Amanda says after reviewing the documentation. You have all the power here. The house is yours. The business is mostly yours. Your separate assets are protected. Mason is financially dependent on you in ways he probably doesn't even realize. Good. But I need to know what you want. Do you want to punish him, or do you want to move forward with your life? Whitney considers this carefully. I want justice. I want everyone to know what he did. I want him to face consequences. But mostly, I want my life back. Without him in it. Without Megan in it. I want to be free. Then let's make that happen. They spend hours drafting documents, planning strategy, building Whitney's case. When they finish, Amanda smiles. He's not going to know what hit him. Whitney drives to her house, not theirs, for the first time since Christmas. Mason's car is in the driveway. She knew it would be. She walks in. Mason leaps up from the couch looking haggard and desperate. Whitney! Thank God, baby, Pack your things. You have 2 hours. What? This is my house. My father bought it. My name is on the deed. You're not welcome here anymore. Pack your essentials and leave. Anything you don't take will be put in storage. You can't just kick me out. I can, and I am. You can stay with Megan. I'm sure Douglas would love that. Mason's face crumbles. Please don't do this. We can work through this. We can go to counseling. There is no we anymore. There hasn't been a we since our wedding night when you chose to fuck your stepmother. Pack your things, Mason. I won't ask again. She walks upstairs to their bedroom, her bedroom now, and starts removing his belongings. Clothes in garbage bags, toiletries in a box. She's methodical, efficient, emotionless. Mason follows her, crying, begging. I'll end it with Megan. I'll never see her again. Please, Whitney. Please give me another chance. Whitney stops, turns to face him. You want another chance? After almost 7 years of betrayal? After getting her pregnant? After planning to leave me? She steps closer. Mason, you don't get another chance. You get consequences. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what you did. What does that mean? It means I'm done protecting your reputation. I'm done making excuses for you. I'm done being the good wife who stands by her husband no matter what. Everyone is going to know the truth about you and Megan, your family, your friends, your business partners, everyone. You'll destroy me. No, you destroyed yourself. I'm just making sure everyone sees it. She hands him the garbage bags. 2 hours. Then I'm changing the locks. Mason takes the bags with shaking hands. I love you. I know you don't believe me, but I do. Whitney looks at him, really looks at him, and sees a stranger. How did she ever think she knew this man? You don't love me, Mason. You love what I represented. Safety, security, respectability. But you can't love someone and do what you did. That's not how love works. He leaves, crying, broken. Whitney watches him load his car from the window. When he drives away, she changes the locks immediately, calls a cleaning service to deep clean the entire house. She wants every trace of him gone. Then she sits in her father's study, surrounded by his books, his photos, his memory. I'm sorry, Daddy, she whispers. I didn't see what you saw, but I see it now, and I'm going to be okay, I promise. She opens her laptop and starts making calls. Mason's brothers first, then his aunts and uncles, then his business partners. One by one, she tells them the truth. Not dramatically, not emotionally, just the facts. Mason has been having an affair with Megan since our wedding night. She's pregnant with his child. I thought you should know before it becomes public knowledge. The reactions are varied. Shock, disbelief, anger. But no one defends Mason. How can they? By the end of the day, Whitney has planted seeds that will bloom into Mason's complete social destruction. She's done it calmly, efficiently, without malice, just truth. She sleeps in her house that night alone for the first time in years. She expects to feel sad. Instead, she feels powerful. Mason made a mistake thinking she was soft, thinking her love made her weak. He's about to learn that a woman who loved with her whole heart can fight with the same intensity, and Whitney Reed is done loving. Now she's going to win. Chapter 4. The Dinner Party. Whitney spends the week after Christmas in controlled motion. She meets with lawyers, accountants, and investigators. Every moment of stillness is a moment where grief might catch her, so she doesn't stop moving. Her private investigator, a woman named Diane who came highly recommended, finds things even Whitney wasn't expecting. "They've been systematic," Diane says, spreading photographs across the conference table. "Same 3 hotels in rotation, always weekday afternoons when you were working. Credit card receipts going back years, and there's more." She produces bank statements. Megan's been moving money. Small amounts at first, then larger. She has 3 accounts your husband doesn't know about. One in her daughter's name from her first marriage. Total, just under $500,000. Whitney stares at the numbers. She's been stealing from Douglas? From everyone. She had access to Douglas's accounts as his wife. She had access to some of Mason's accounts through shared business dealings. She's been skimming for years. Does Mason know? Based on his financials? No. He's been so focused on hiding the affair, he hasn't noticed Megan's been robbing him blind while planning her exit strategy. Whitney sits back, processing. Megan isn't just a woman who had an affair. She's a con artist, a predator who planned everything from the beginning. "There's something else," Diane says carefully. "The pregnancy might not be Mason's." Whitney's head snaps up. "What?" "Megan was seeing someone else, a contractor on one of Mason's job sites, overlapping timeline with Mason. She could be pregnant by either man." "Does Mason know about the contractor?" Doubtful. Whitney smiles slowly, not with joy, with strategy. "Document everything. I want dates, times, photos, financial records, everything." "What are you planning?" "The truth, all of it, in front of everyone who matters." Diane grins. "I like the way you think." That evening, Whitney calls Mason's Aunt Patricia. Patricia has never liked Megan, has always been kind to Whitney. She answers on the first ring. "Whitney, sweetheart, I heard what happened. I'm so sorry." "Thank you, Patricia. I need a favor." "Anything. Host a family dinner. Tell everyone it's to celebrate Megan's pregnancy. Make sure everyone comes. All the siblings, the cousins, Douglas, Megan, and Mason. Tell them it's important." Patricia is silent for a moment. "You're planning something." "I'm planning the truth." "Will you help me? When do you want this dinner?" "Saturday. This Saturday." "Consider it done. Should I tell them you'll be there?" "No. Let it be a surprise." Saturday arrives with cold, clear skies. Whitney dresses carefully, a deep blue dress that makes her skin glow, her hair styled perfectly, her makeup flawless. She looks powerful, untouchable, beautiful. She drives to Patricia's house. Cars line the street. The whole family is there. Her heart pounds, but her hands are steady. Patricia opens the door before Whitney can knock. "Everyone's in the dining room. Ready?" "Ready." They walk together through the house. Whitney can hear voices, laughter, the clinking of glasses, normal family sounds, about to become very abnormal. She stands in the doorway. The dining room goes silent as everyone turns. Mason, sitting next to Megan, goes white. Megan's hand freezes on her water glass. Douglas, at the head of the table, looks between Whitney and his wife with something broken in his eyes. "Whitney," Mason's brother James says, standing. "We didn't know you were coming." "Surprise," Whitney says softly. She walks into the room, and it's like watching the Red Sea part. People move aside automatically. She takes the seat at the opposite end of the table from Douglas, a position of power. "What are you doing here?" Megan asks, trying for confidence but landing somewhere near panic. Whitney sets her purse on the table, pulls out a folder. "I'm here for the same reason everyone else is, to celebrate, to share news, to have a family gathering." She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. "Isn't that what tonight is about? Truth and family?" Mason tries to stand. "Whitney, maybe we should talk privately." "Sit down, Mason." Her voice cracks like a whip. He sits. Whitney looks around the table. "I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I know some of you have heard rumors about what's been happening. I thought it was time everyone heard the truth directly from me." "Whitney, please," Megan says, hand on her stomach. "Think about what you're doing." "I've thought about nothing else. Believe me." Whitney opens the folder. "Mason and I were married almost 7 years ago under that magnolia tree in my grandmother's backyard. It was the happiest day of my life. I thought I was marrying my soulmate, my partner, my best friend." The room is silent. Even the air seems to be holding its breath. "What I didn't know was that on my wedding night, Mason slept with someone else." She lets that sink in. "While I was asleep in our marriage bed, exhausted and happy and full of love, my husband of less than 12 hours was having sex with his stepmother in the garden." Gasps around the table. Mason's mother's sisters look horrified. His brothers are staring at Mason with disgust. Mason's cousin Rebecca speaks up, her voice uncertain. "Whitney, are you sure? I mean, Mason wouldn't—" "That's insane. Maybe you misunderstood something." Whitney expected this. Not everyone would believe immediately. "I'm completely sure, Rebecca. I heard Mason confess to his father on Christmas. I have documentation. Would you like to see it?" Megan stands abruptly. "This is inappropriate. I'm leaving." "Sit down." Whitney doesn't raise her voice, but something in her tone makes Megan sink back into her chair. "You wanted to be part of this family, then you'll hear what you've done to it." Whitney pulls out documents, starts distributing them around the table. These are hotel receipts, text messages, photos, documentation of an affair that has been ongoing for almost 7 years, multiple times per week, in hotels, in my home, in Douglas's home, on family vacations. She places a stack in front of Douglas. He stares at them like they're written in a foreign language. The baby Megan is carrying is Mason's, or possibly belongs to a contractor named Derek Stevens, who she was also sleeping with during the same time period. She slides a paternity questionnaire across to Megan. "We won't know until after the birth." "You're lying," Megan shouts. "You're making this up because you're jealous and bitter." James's wife, Carol, touches his arm. "This doesn't make sense. Why would Mason risk everything for—" She stops, looking at Megan with new eyes. Whitney pulls out her phone, connects it to Patricia's television. Text messages appear on the screen. Megan to Mason. "Douglas is asleep. Can you come over?" Mason to Megan. "Whitney just left for Atlanta. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Megan to Mason. "That lingerie I bought for Whitney. I want you to picture me in it instead." The messages scroll by. Damning, explicit, undeniable. Rebecca sits down heavily, her skepticism evaporating. "Oh my God, Mason, how could you?" Mason's brother James stands up, knocking his chair back. "You son of a bitch. You married a good woman and you did this." Mason can't look at anyone. He's staring at his plate, tears streaming down his face. "There's more," Whitney says calmly. She pulls out financial documents. "Megan has been stealing money from Douglas, from Mason. She has nearly $500,000 in hidden accounts. She's been planning to leave both of you. Take the money, take Mason if he was willing, and start fresh somewhere else." Douglas finally speaks, his voice ancient and terrible. "Is this true?" Megan's silence is answer enough. "All of it?" Douglas presses. "The affair, the stealing, the lies?" "Douglas, baby, you have to understand," Megan starts. "Do not call me that." Douglas stands slowly. The entire table watches him. Get out of my sight, both of you. Mason, you are no longer my son. Megan, you will be hearing from my lawyers. Get out of my house. Dad, please, Mason begins. I said get out. The room erupts. Mason's brothers are shouting. His aunts are crying. Patricia is comforting Douglas. In the chaos, Megan and Mason slip out together, proving Whitney's point without her having to say another word. When the noise finally dies down, everyone turns to Whitney. She's sitting calmly, hands folded, expression serene. Douglas approaches her slowly. Whitney, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I didn't see it, I didn't protect you. She stands, takes his hands. You were lied to just like I was. Megan is very good at deception. That's not your fault. What can I do? How can I help? Whitney looks at this man who she thought would be her father-in-law for life. Be honest with people about what happened. Don't protect them. Don't let them control the narrative. And Douglas, live well. That's the best revenge. He nods, crying openly now. Patricia hugs Whitney. Then James, then others. One by one, the family comes to her, not with pity, with respect. You're stronger than any of us knew, Patricia says. I'm stronger than I knew, Whitney replies. She stays for another hour, answering questions, providing details, letting them see the evidence. By the time she leaves, every person in that room knows the truth, and they'll tell others, and those people will tell more. By morning, everyone in their social circle will know what Mason and Megan did. Whitney drives home feeling lighter than she has in days. She destroyed them tonight, not with screaming or tears or violence, with truth. Simple, documented, undeniable truth. Her phone buzzes, a text from an unknown number. You're going to regret this. Megan. Whitney smiles and types back. The only thing I regret is not seeing what you were sooner. But don't worry, I see you clearly now, and so does everyone else. She blocks the number, pours herself a glass of wine, sits in her father's study. I did it, Daddy, she whispers. I made sure everyone knows. I made sure they can't hide anymore. She sleeps peacefully that night. No nightmares, no grief, just the quiet satisfaction of a woman who fought back and won the first battle. But the war is far from over. Chapter 5. The unraveling Monday morning arrives with consequences. Whitney wakes to her phone exploding with messages. Friends asking if the rumors are true. Business contacts offering support. Her sister calling in tears, angry she hadn't known sooner. But the most interesting messages are from Mason's business partners. Whitney, this is Richard. I heard what happened at the family dinner. I want you to know that my firm is terminating our contract with Mason's company effective immediately. This has nothing to do with you. This is about integrity, or his lack of it. Similar messages from others. Mason's carefully constructed professional network is collapsing. Whitney meets with Amanda, her lawyer, to review next steps. Mason's attorney called this morning, Amanda says. He wants to negotiate. Negotiate what? He has no leverage. That's what I told him. But he's claiming that Mason helped build the business, that he deserves something for his work. Whitney laughs. His work? Built on my money, my connections, my father's reputation? No. He gets nothing. He might fight that. Let him fight. We have documentation of everything. My initial investment, the partnership structure, every major client that came through my relationships. He can't win this. He might try to drag it out. Make it expensive for you. I have more money than he does, especially now that he's losing clients. Whitney leans forward. I want him to understand something. Every day he fights me is another day I make sure everyone knows what he did. His reputation is already destroyed. I'll make sure it stays that way. Amanda smiles. I'll convey that message, professionally, of course. Whitney spends the week systematically dismantling Mason's life. She calls every client who came to him through her father's connections. She doesn't badmouth Mason directly. She doesn't have to. She simply tells them she's divorcing him and thought they should know. Most of them terminate their contracts immediately, not because Whitney asked, but because they're loyal to her father's memory, and they can't work with a man who betrayed his daughter so thoroughly. Mason tries to reach out multiple times. Whitney blocks every attempt. He shows up at her office. Security removes him. He sends flowers with apology cards. She donates them to a nursing home without reading the cards. Douglas, meanwhile, files for divorce from Megan. The prenup she signed is brutal. Infidelity clause means she gets almost nothing. She'll receive a one-time payment and nothing else. Megan tries to fight it, hires a lawyer, claims the prenup was signed under duress. But there's no evidence of that. She signed willingly, eagerly even. Whitney receives a call from Douglas's lawyer. "Ms. Reed, Douglas would like to coordinate with your case against Mason. He believes that presenting a united front will be more effective." What does he want to share? Financial records showing money transfers that Megan initiated. Text messages between Megan and Mason discussing their plans. Douglas wants them to face consequences together since they planned everything together. "Tell Douglas I appreciate his support. And yes, let's coordinate." With Douglas's evidence added to her own, Whitney's case becomes airtight. Mason's lawyer calls for another negotiation meeting. This time, they meet in person. Whitney, Amanda, Mason, and his lawyer sit in a conference room. Mason looks terrible, unshaven, gaunt, eyes hollow. "Whitney," he starts. "Ms. Reed," she corrects coldly. "Ms. Reed, please, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm asking for mercy. I've lost everything. My family won't speak to me. My business is dying. I have no income. I can't afford to fight you in court." "You should have thought about that before you fucked your stepmother for almost 7 years. His lawyer clears his throat. "Ms. Reed, we're proposing a settlement. Mason will agree to an uncontested divorce. He'll sign over his portion of the house, the business assets funded by your initial investment, and won't seek alimony or any financial support. In exchange, you'll agree to not pursue damages beyond what's already been—" "No," Whitney interrupts. "Ms. Reed, no, I'm not interested in making this easy for him. He made my life hell for almost 7 years. He lied every single day. He stole from me. Maybe not money directly, but time, trust, years of my life I can't get back. And you want me to just let him walk away?" "What do you want?" Mason asks desperately. Whitney leans back, studies him. "I want you to sign a statement, admitting to everything. The affair, the timeline, the lies. I want it notarized, and I want you to agree that if anyone asks, you'll tell them the truth about what you did." "You want him to publicly confess?" Mason's lawyer looks appalled. "I want him to own his choices. For once in his miserable life, I want him to take responsibility." She looks at Mason. "You destroyed our marriage. You destroyed your relationship with your father. You destroyed your reputation. I didn't do that. You did. And I want you to admit it." Mason is crying now. "I'll do it, whatever you want. Just please, let this end." "Oh, it'll end when I say it ends." They draft the statement over the next hour. Mason signs it with shaking hands. Whitney has it notarized immediately. As they're leaving, Mason tries one last time. "Did you ever really love me? Or was I just a means to an end for you?" Whitney stops, turns back. "I loved you with everything I had. I would have done anything for you. I built my life around you. And you took that love and used it as cover while you destroyed me from the inside. So don't you dare try to make this about me using you. You used me every single day, and now you get to live with what that cost you." She walks out, Amanda beside her. "That was brutal," Amanda says quietly. "That was justice," Whitney replies. Over the next few weeks, Mason's life continues its downward spiral. Without clients, his business fails. He has to let go of his employees, shut down the office, declare bankruptcy. Megan, meanwhile, is dealing with her own consequences. Douglas's family has completely cut her off. Her friends, the women she socialized with as Douglas's wife, want nothing to do with her. She's forced to move into a small apartment, working retail to survive. She tries to contact Whitney one final time, a letter, handwritten, delivered to Whitney's office. "Whitney, I know you hate me. I understand why, But I'm begging you, I'm pregnant and alone. Mason has nothing to give me. Douglas has cut me off. I have no one. Please, for the sake of the innocent baby, help me." Whitney reads the letter once, then feeds it into her office shredder. The baby is innocent, but Megan's not, and Whitney owes her nothing. That evening she meets with her sister Lauren for dinner. Lauren has been supportive but worried. "Are you okay?" Lauren asks. "Really okay?" Whitney considers the question. "I'm angry, all the time, but I'm also clear-headed, focused. I know what I need to do, which is rebuild, move forward, make sure they can never hurt anyone else the way they hurt me. You've already destroyed them, Whit. Maybe it's time to let go." "Let go?" Whitney's laugh is sharp. "They had almost 7 years of lying to me. I've had a few weeks of consequences for them. That's not balanced yet. I'm worried you're letting this consume you. I'm letting it focus me. There's a difference." But that night, alone in her house, Whitney wonders if Lauren is right. Is she becoming obsessed with revenge? Is she letting Mason and Megan take up space in her head they don't deserve? She walks through the house her father bought for her, looks at photos from happier times, sees herself smiling, believing, trusting. That woman is gone, and Whitney doesn't know if she mourns her or is grateful to be rid of her. Her phone rings. Douglas. "Whitney, I hope I'm not calling too late." "Not at all. How are you?" "I'm surviving, barely." He sounds exhausted. "I wanted to thank you for standing up, for telling the truth, for being stronger than I was. You're standing up now. That's what matters." "I loved Megan, or I thought I did. I see now I loved the image she presented, the woman she pretended to be. The real Megan? I never knew her." Whitney understands that completely. "We fell in love with ghosts, Douglas, people who never really existed. How do you move forward from that? One day at a time, one choice at a time. You choose yourself over them, over and over until it becomes natural." They talk for an hour. Two people trying to rebuild from the wreckage of betrayal. When they hang up, Whitney feels less alone. She stands in front of the mirror in her bedroom, studies her reflection. She's thinner now, harder. Her eyes don't have the softness they used to. But she's not broken, she's forged, tempered by fire, and forged, women are unbreakable. Chapter 6. The Woman They Underestimated. 3 months after Christmas, Whitney's divorce is finalized. The hearing is brief, clinical. Mason doesn't contest anything. He sits at the opposite table looking hollow, his lawyer doing all the talking. Whitney answers the judge's questions with calm clarity. Yes, the marriage is irretrievably broken. No, there's no possibility of reconciliation. Yes, she understands the terms of the dissolution. The judge signs the papers. The marriage that started under a magnolia tree ends in a courtroom that smells like old wood and broken promises. "Congratulations, Ms. Reed," Amanda says as they walk out. "You're officially free." But Whitney doesn't feel congratulatory. She feels empty. She gets the house, the business assets, and a settlement that covers emotional damages. Mason gets nothing except debt and shame. The day the papers are signed, Whitney doesn't celebrate. She goes to her father's grave instead. The cemetery is quiet, just her and the wind moving through the trees. She sits on the grass beside his headstone, traces the letters of his name with her fingers. "It's over, Daddy. The legal part, anyway." Her voice is soft, meant only for him. "I wish you were here. I wish you could tell me what to do next, because I won. I got everything I wanted, the house, the business, justice. But I don't feel victorious. I just feel empty." She sits in silence for a long time, remembering. Her father teaching her to ride a bike. The way he'd hug her after a bad day. How he'd believed in her even when she didn't believe in herself. He'd known something was off about Mason. He'd protected her even after his death with the trust, the house deed, the careful structuring of the business investment. "You saw what I couldn't see," Whitney whispers. You knew I'd need a way out. Thank you for that, Daddy. Thank you for loving me enough to prepare for the worst, even when I was planning for forever. The wind picks up, rustling the leaves. It feels like an answer. I don't know who I am anymore, she admits. I thought I was Mason's wife. I thought I was building a family. But that was all fake. So who am I now? Just Whitney? Is that enough? She sits there until the sun starts to set, talking to her father, crying for the first time in weeks. Not for Mason, for herself, for the woman she used to be who believed in forever, for the innocence she can never get back. When she finally leaves the cemetery, something has shifted inside her. The anger is still there, but it's different now. Colder, more focused, purposeful. She's not done yet. Whitney takes a week before returning to work. She needs time to adjust to the strange new reality of being divorced, of being alone, of being free. When she finally walks into her office building, she feels every eye on her. People know. Of course they know. The story has spread through their professional community like wildfire. Her assistant Rachel stands when Whitney approaches. "Welcome back. It's good to see you." "Thanks, Rachel. Catch me up?" They spend an hour reviewing what Whitney missed. Contracts, client meetings, proposals, normal work things. It feels surreal, like she's playing a role in someone else's life. But then she gets into the work, and something happens. She's sharper now, clearer. Every decision she makes is precise, uncompromising. She doesn't second-guess herself, doesn't soften her opinions to make others comfortable, doesn't apologize for taking up space. In her first meeting back, a colleague suggests a compromise with a difficult client. The old Whitney would have agreed, always preferring harmony over conflict. The new Whitney says, "No, our terms are fair. If the client doesn't see the value, they're not the right fit. Walk away." The room goes quiet. Then her boss nods slowly. "You're right. Make the call." The client comes back within an hour, agrees to their terms. Whitney's reputation shifts overnight. She's not the nice, accommodating team player anymore. She's the woman who won't be underestimated, who knows her worth and won't accept less. Within a month, she's promoted to director of her firm. Her boss calls her into his office with the offer. "You've changed," he says carefully. "I don't know what you went through, but you're operating at a level I haven't seen before. We'd like to promote you. More responsibility, more autonomy, significant raise." Whitney doesn't smile. "I accept, but I want something else too." "Name it." "Mason's business. The one my father's money built. I want to buy it, restructure it, make it mine completely." Her boss leans back. "That's ambitious. I'm done being timid. That business should have always been mine. Now it will be." "Let me make some calls." Within 2 weeks, the deal is structured. Whitney buys out the remaining partners who worked with Mason. She guts the company, rebuilds it from the foundation up. New team, new focus, new name. Reed Consulting, her father's name, her legacy, her power. The first day Reed Consulting officially opens, Whitney stands in the conference room looking at the new logo on the wall. She feels her father's presence, feels his pride. "I did it, Daddy," she whispers. "I took it back." Her phone buzzes. A message from a local business magazine. "We'd like to feature your story." Interested? She is. The article comes out a month later. Whitney Reed, rising from betrayal to build an empire. The piece is powerful, focused on her resilience and business acumen. It mentions the divorce but doesn't dwell on it. Whitney is presented as a survivor who refused to be defined by what was done to her. The morning the magazine hits newsstands, Whitney stops at a coffee shop on her way to work. The barista recognizes her. "You're the woman from the article, aren't you? My girlfriend read it last night and couldn't stop talking about you. She's going through something similar. Your story gave her hope." Whitney feels something crack open in her chest. Purpose. This matters. Her pain has meaning beyond herself. "Tell your girlfriend she's stronger than she knows," Whitney says, "and she's going to be okay." She arrives at work to find the magazine on every desk. Her team congratulates her. Clients email praise. For the first time since Christmas, Whitney feels something other than anger or emptiness. She feels proud. That evening, she's the last one in the office. She's reviewing contracts when her assistant buzzes. "Ms. Reed, there's someone here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's important." Whitney's stomach tightens. She knows who it is before Rachel says his name. Mason Mescal. Whitney considers sending him away. She could. She has every right. But curiosity wins. "Tell security to escort him to the parking garage. I'll meet him there in 5 minutes, and tell them to stay close." She gathers her things slowly, deliberately, makes him wait. When she finally walks into the garage, Mason is pacing near her car. He's lost weight, looks haunted, pathetic. Security stands 20 feet away, watching. "You have 5 minutes," Whitney says. Mason spins around. "Whitney, thank God, I saw the article. I had to see you." "To say what?" "To tell you." He struggles for words. "You won. You destroyed me completely. Are you happy now?" Whitney sets her briefcase down carefully, studies him. This man who she once loved more than breathing. This stranger. "This isn't about happiness, Mason. This was never about happiness." "Then what was it about? Revenge? Punishment? Consequences?" She speaks slowly, like explaining something simple to a child. "You made choices. Every single day for almost 7 years, you chose to betray me. You chose Megan over me repeatedly. You chose lies over truth, and now you're living with the results of those choices. That's not revenge. That's cause and effect." "I made a mistake." "Stop." Her voice cuts like a blade. "Stop calling it a mistake. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is saying the wrong thing in an argument. What you did was a systematic, calculated, ongoing betrayal of everyone who loved you. That's not a mistake, Mason. That's who you are." "I'm sorry. God, Whitney, I'm so sorry. I destroyed the best thing in my life." "Yes, you did. And I'm not going to make you feel better about it." He takes a step toward her. Security moves forward. Mason stops. "Please, just listen. I'm losing everything. My dad won't speak to me. My brothers won't take my calls. I can't find decent work. People see me, and they know what I did. I can't even go to the grocery store without getting looks. Megan and I can barely stand each other. I'm alone, and it's all my fault, and I don't know how to fix it." Whitney feels nothing. Not satisfaction, not pity, nothing. "You can't fix it," she says quietly. "Some things once broken can't be repaired. You burned your life to the ground, Mason, and now you have to live in the ashes. That's not my fault. That's not my problem. That's your consequence. I loved you." His voice breaks. "I know you don't believe me, but I did. I do." Whitney laughs, sharp and bitter. "No, you don't. You love what I gave you. My money, my connections, my unconditional trust, my protection from the consequences of your actions. But you never loved me, because if you did, Megan wouldn't have been possible." "That's not true. Let me tell you what you loved." Whitney steps closer now, her voice low and controlled. "You loved having a respectable wife who made you look good. You loved my father's money that built your business. You loved my social connections that brought you clients. You loved the safety net I provided while you played out your fantasies with Megan. You loved the image of us together. But me, Whitney, the actual person, you never bothered to know her. You were too busy fucking your stepmother in our bed." Mason flinches like she's struck him. "You want to know what real love looks like?" Whitney continues. "Real love would have made Megan impossible. Real love would have sent you running back to our bedroom the moment she kissed you. Real love would have confessed the next morning, accepting whatever consequences came. But you didn't love me. You loved using me. And there's a difference." "Then what was it?" Mason's face is wet with tears. "What did I feel for you?" "Dependence, convenience, entitlement." Whitney picks up her briefcase. "I was your security blanket, your acceptable public face, the person who made you feel like a good man while you did bad things. And when Megan got pregnant, You were ready to trade me in. Not because you loved her more, but because she gave you what you wanted in that moment. You're not capable of loving anyone, Mason. You only love yourself. Will you ever forgive me? Whitney considers this question. The same question he keeps asking, as if her forgiveness would absolve him. I don't think about you enough to forgive you, Mason. You're not my future. You're barely even my past. You're just a chapter I'm glad is over, a lesson I learned. She walks toward her car. Mason calls after her. That article, the way you look in those photos, you're thriving without me, and I'm... He can't finish. Whitney turns back one final time. Yes, I am thriving. Because I chose myself. Every day since Christmas, I've chosen myself. And that's something you never did for me. You chose Megan. You chose secrets. You chose lies. You chose easy over right. And now you're facing what that looks like. I'm not sorry for you, Mason. I'm proud of me. She gets in her car, starts the engine, looks at him one last time through the window. A small, broken man shrinking in her rearview mirror. As she drives away, she realizes something profound. She doesn't hate him anymore. She doesn't feel anything for him at all. He's just a man who made terrible choices and has to live with them, and she's just a woman who survived him. That night, Whitney has dinner with a new friend, someone she met at a networking event who doesn't know her history. They talk about books and travel and dreams. Whitney laughs genuinely for the first time in months. Real laughter, free laughter. Walking to her car afterward, her friend says, "You're one of the strongest people I've ever met." Whitney considers that. I wasn't always. Life made me strong. Well, whatever made you this way, I'm glad. The world needs more women like you. Whitney drives home thinking about that, about the woman she was and the woman she's become. She's harder now, yes, more guarded, but also more certain of her worth, more unwilling to accept less than she deserves. Mason took her softness, but he couldn't take her strength. That was always hers. He just made her learn how to use it. She pulls into her driveway, not theirs, and sits in the car for a moment, looking at her house lit up against the night sky. Her father's house, her sanctuary, her fresh start. She's lost so much. Her marriage, her trust, years she can't get back. But she's gained something too, herself, her power, her certainty, and that, Whitney realizes, is worth more than anything Mason ever gave her. She walks inside, pours herself wine, and toasts the woman in the mirror. "Here's to surviving," she says softly, "and to never settling for ghosts again." The woman in the mirror smiles back, scarred but unbroken, wounded but whole, stronger than she ever was when she was loved by a man who didn't know how to love at all. Chapter 7. The Birth of Consequences. 6 months after the divorce is finalized, Megan goes into premature labor. Whitney hears about it through Douglas, who calls her late one night. "The baby came early. It's a boy. He's in the NICU, but the doctors think he'll be fine." "That's good," Whitney says carefully. "Megan called me, asked me to come to the hospital." Douglas sounds exhausted. "I went. Not for her. For my grandson. Because despite everything, that child is innocent in this." "Did you see Mason?" "He showed up 2 days later, drunk. The nurses had to remove him. He hasn't been back since." Whitney closes her eyes. Even now, even with a child in the hospital, Mason can't be the person people need him to be. "The baby's name is Owen," Douglas continues. "He's beautiful, Whitney. Tiny and fighting, but beautiful. I'm going to be in his life. I'm going to make sure he knows his grandfather loves him. But his parents..." He trails off. "His parents made their choices." "Yes, and he's the one who'll pay for them." They talk for a few more minutes before hanging up. Whitney sits in the darkness of her living room, thinking about that baby. Owen. Born into chaos because his parents couldn't control themselves. She feels sorry for him. But she's not responsible for fixing his parents' mistakes. A month later, Megan is released from the hospital with Owen. She's living in a small apartment, barely making rent, working when she can find childcare. Mason is supposed to pay child support, but he has no income to garnish. He's disappeared, working cash jobs, avoiding his responsibilities. Megan tries one final manipulation. She posts on social media a photo of Owen with a caption reading, "My son deserves better than this. His father has abandoned us. His grandfather refuses to help. All because of one woman's vindictive campaign. Whitney Reed has destroyed my family." The post is designed to paint Whitney as a villain, to garner sympathy, to manipulate public opinion. It backfires spectacularly. Within hours, people who know the real story flood the comments. Mason's brothers, Douglas's sisters, business associates, friends, all of them correcting the narrative, providing context, explaining that Megan is a woman who destroyed her own family through years of lies. Patricia writes, "Megan, you destroyed your own family by sleeping with your stepson for almost 7 years. Whitney didn't do this to you. You did this to yourself." James adds, "My brother abandoned his child because he's a coward. His actions have nothing to do with Whitney and everything to do with his character, or lack thereof." Even Douglas comments, "I provide financial support for my grandson through proper legal channels. You receive that money monthly. This post is another manipulation, just like everything else you've done. Stop using our grandson for sympathy." Megan deletes the post within hours, but screenshots have already circulated. Her attempted smear campaign becomes another humiliation. Whitney sees the screenshots, but doesn't engage, doesn't comment, doesn't react publicly. She's learned that silence is sometimes the strongest response. Privately, though, she feels something she hasn't felt before. Pity. Not for Megan's circumstances, those are consequences of choices, but for Owen, who will grow up in the shadow of his parents' scandal, who will someday Google his own name and find articles about how he was conceived in betrayal. Whitney makes a decision. She calls Douglas. "I want to set up a trust for Owen, not a large one, just enough to ensure he can go to college someday. I'll fund it anonymously. Megan doesn't need to know where it came from." Douglas is silent for a long moment. "Whitney, you don't have to do that." "I know, but Owen is innocent, and my father always said that children shouldn't pay for their parents' sins, so I'm going to make sure he has at least one opportunity his parents' choices can't take away. You're a better person than either of them deserves. I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it because it's right." The trust is established. Owen will have access to it when he turns 18, enough for education, for a start in life. Whitney feels good about it in a way nothing else has made her feel in months. Meanwhile, Mason has hit rock bottom. He's homeless now, living in his car, working odd jobs when he can find them. He's lost so much weight, he's barely recognizable. His beard is unkempt, his clothes dirty. He's become what he always feared, nothing. Whitney hears about this through various sources but doesn't seek him out. His destruction isn't her job anymore. It's complete. One evening, she's at a coffee shop working on her laptop when someone approaches her table. She looks up to find a woman she doesn't recognize. "You're Whitney Reed, aren't you? I read about you, about what your husband did." Whitney tenses, preparing for judgment or unwanted sympathy. But the woman says, "I wanted to thank you for telling your story, for standing up. My husband was having an affair with my sister. I found out 6 months ago and I didn't know what to do. Everyone told me to be quiet, to keep it in the family, to not make waves. Then I read about you, how you refused to protect them, how you chose yourself. And I did the same. I left him. I told everyone what they did. And now I'm rebuilding my life." She's crying now. "You gave me courage. I wanted you to know that." Whitney stands, hugs this stranger who feels like a sister. "I'm proud of you. It's the hardest thing, choosing yourself. But it's also the most important." They talk for an hour. The woman tells her story. Whitney listens, offers advice, shares her own continued struggles. When they part, Whitney feels something she hasn't felt in months. Purpose. That night, she starts writing, not for publication, just for herself, her story, her truth, what it felt like to discover the betrayal, how she survived, how she fought back, how she's rebuilding. The words pour out of her, page after page, chapter after chapter. It's cathartic in a way nothing else has been. A month later, she has a manuscript. On a whim, she sends it to a literary agent, just to see. The agent responds within a week, "This is powerful. Raw, honest, I think we can sell this." Whitney's book, tentatively titled The Woman Who Loved a Ghost, begins its journey to publication. She's not thinking about revenge anymore. She's thinking about helping other women see that they can survive this. That betrayal doesn't have to define them, that they can rise. She's been transformed by fire, and now she's going to use that transformation to light the way for others. Mason sees a notice about the book deal in a local paper. He's sitting in a library using their computer to search for jobs when he comes across the article. Local woman pens memoir about surviving infidelity, book deal signed. He reads about Whitney's success, her new company, her speaking engagements, her book. He realizes she's not just surviving, she's thriving. And he's a cautionary tale, a villain in someone else's success story. He puts his head in his hands and cries in the middle of the library. People stare. He doesn't care. He's lost everything, and unlike Whitney, he has no path forward, no redemption arc, no second chance, just consequences that will follow him forever. Chapter 8. The Final Confrontation. A year after the divorce, Mason requests to meet Whitney, through lawyers formal and official. He wants to apologize properly, he says, to give her closure. Amanda advises against it. You don't need his closure, you've moved on. But Whitney is curious. What could he possibly say now that would matter? She agrees. They meet in a park, neutral ground, public space. Spring is blooming around them, the world green and alive. Mason looks terrible, aged beyond his years, gaunt, haunted. He sits on a bench and can't meet her eyes. "Thank you for meeting me," he says quietly. Whitney sits on the opposite end of the bench, leaving space between them. "You have 10 minutes. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just needed you to know that I understand now. What I destroyed, what I lost, who you really were. Who I was." Whitney's voice is sharp. "You were perfect. You loved me honestly. You trusted me completely. You built me up, supported my dreams, made me better, and I threw it all away for something that was never real. Took you long enough to figure that out. Megan and I, we hate each other now. We can barely stand to be in the same room. She blames me for losing Douglas. I blame her for seducing me. We're trapped in this cycle of resentment, tied together by Owen, but miserable. That's not my problem, Mason. I know, I needed you to know that what we had was real. My love for you was real. I just poisoned it with my choices." Whitney studies him, tries to find any trace of the man she married. He's gone, or maybe he never existed. "No," she says finally, "no. Your love for me wasn't real. Love doesn't destroy, love doesn't betray, love doesn't lie every single day for almost 7 years. What you felt for me might have been affection, or comfort, or convenience, but it wasn't love. Don't insult both of us by calling it that. I did love you. You loved what I gave you, my support, my money, my status. You loved the image of us together. But you didn't love me, because if you did, Megan wouldn't have been possible. You can't truly love someone and simultaneously conduct a secret relationship with someone else. Those two things cannot coexist." Mason's face crumbles. "Then what was it? What did I feel?" "I don't know, Mason, and I don't care. That's your journey to figure out. But don't come here seeking absolution from me. I can't give you that." "What can you give me?" Whitney thinks about this carefully. "The truth. You asked what you felt for me. I think you felt dependent. I was your safety net, your stability, the acceptable face you showed the world while you indulged your darker impulses with Megan. I was the wife who made you look good, and she was the affair that made you feel alive, and you wanted both. You wanted security and excitement, respectability and danger. You wanted everything without paying any price. But I did pay a price. I lost everything. Yes, You did, but not because of me, because of you. I simply stopped protecting you from the consequences of your actions. That's all I did. I stopped lying for you, stopped covering for you, stopped making excuses, and without my protection, your house of cards collapsed. So this was all my fault. Every bit of it. Whitney stands. I came here thinking maybe I'd feel something, anger, satisfaction, grief. But I feel nothing, Mason. You're a stranger to me. You have been for a long time, maybe always. Will you ever forgive me? Whitney considers this question, the same question he's asked before. Forgiveness isn't something you earn or I owe. It's something I might give myself someday when carrying this anger becomes more burden than protection. But whether I forgive you or not has nothing to do with you anymore. It's about me, about my healing, my peace. You don't get to be part of that process. She starts to walk away. Whitney, wait, please. Just tell me, do you think I can change? Do you think I can become better than this? She turns back, studies him one final time. I don't know. That's up to you. But I'll tell you this. Change doesn't come from regret. It comes from choice. Every day you have to choose to be better than you were. You have to choose honesty over convenience, truth over comfort, responsibility over excuses. Can you do that? I don't know. But if you want to be a good father to Owen, you're going to have to try. Will you ever tell him about me, about what I did? If he asks me someday, I'll tell him the truth, but I'll also tell him that people are capable of change, even when it seems impossible, that his father's past doesn't have to define his future, that he can choose to be better than the circumstances of his birth. That's the best I can offer. Mason nods, tears streaming. Thank you. That's more grace than I deserve. Yes, it is. Whitney walks away from him for the final time. She doesn't look back. Doesn't need to. She gets in her car, drives home, and feels lighter than she has in a year. That night, she finishes the final chapter of her book. She writes about this meeting, about choosing to let go, about understanding that forgiveness isn't about the betrayer. It's about the betrayed reclaiming their power. The words flow easily now. Her story is complete, not because she forgave Mason, but because she freed herself from needing his redemption to validate her healing. She sends the completed manuscript to her agent, pours herself wine, sits on her porch watching the sunset. Her phone rings. A man she met at a conference last month, Michael, a teacher, kind and patient, who makes her laugh. "Hi," she says, smiling. "Hi, yourself. I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner this weekend. There's a new restaurant I'd love to try." Whitney thinks about saying no, about protecting herself, about never being vulnerable again. Then she thinks about her book, about the message she's sending to other women, about rising from ashes. "I'd love to," she says. "Really? That's great. I'll pick you up at 7? 7 is perfect." When she hangs up, Whitney feels something she hasn't felt in over a year. Hope. Not hope that Michael will be perfect, or that they'll have a fairy tale, but hope that she can try again, that she can be open again, that she can love again, more wisely this time, but still with her whole heart. Because Mason didn't break her ability to love, he just taught her to love more carefully, and that's not a weakness, that's wisdom. Chapter 9. The Reckoning. 18 months after the divorce, Whitney's book is published. The Woman Who Loved a Ghost hits shelves on a Tuesday in October. Whitney does a reading at a local bookstore, nervous and excited. She's prepared for maybe 20 people. Over 300 show up. Women of all ages, races, backgrounds. They line up with copies of her book, many already crying before they even reach her. "Your story gave me courage to leave. I thought I was alone until I read your book. You put words to what I couldn't express." Whitney signs books for hours, listens to stories, hugs strangers who feel like sisters. By the end of the night, she's exhausted and exhilarated. The book becomes a bestseller within 2 weeks. Major media outlets want interviews. She's invited to speak at universities, conferences, women's groups. Whitney finds herself becoming something she never expected, an advocate, a voice for women rebuilding after betrayal. She appears on a national morning show. The host asks, "You've been through something devastating. How did you find the strength to not just survive but thrive?" Whitney answers honestly, "I didn't find strength. I built it, piece by piece, choice by choice, day by day. And I learned that the opposite of betrayal isn't revenge. It's reclamation, reclaiming your power, your story, your life." The interview goes viral. Her book sales triple. Mason sees the interview from a small apartment he's finally managed to rent. He's working construction now, barely surviving, paying minimal child support. He watches Whitney on television, glowing, successful, powerful, and understands fully what he destroyed. Megan sees it too. She's working as a waitress, living paycheck to paycheck, raising Owen mostly alone. Mason sees him occasionally, but isn't present in any meaningful way. Watching Whitney's success feels like salt in wounds that never healed. She makes one final, desperate play. She writes to Whitney directly, a handwritten letter delivered to her publisher. "Whitney, I know you have every reason to hate me. I destroyed your marriage. I betrayed you in the worst possible way. But I'm asking you to look past that and see me as a human being who made terrible mistakes. I'm struggling. Owen is growing up in poverty because I can't make enough to support us properly. Mason is useless. Douglas gives minimal financial support but won't see me. I have no one. I'm begging you, not for me, but for Owen. Help us, please." Whitney reads the letter in her editor's office. Her publisher is there, along with Amanda. "What do you want to do?" Amanda asks. Whitney folds the letter carefully. "Nothing. She's asking for help with the child. No, she's using the child to manipulate me. Owen has his grandfather's support. He has a trust fund I set up that Megan doesn't even know about. He'll be fine. This letter isn't about Owen. It's about Megan wanting me to rescue her from consequences. She's going to tell people you refuse to help a child. Let her. I've been honest about everything else. I can be honest about this too. I'm not responsible for fixing the lives of people who destroyed mine. That doesn't make me cruel. It makes me boundaried." The letter goes unanswered. Meanwhile, Whitney's life continues to blossom. She's promoted to vice president at her firm. She's still seeing Michael, their relationship developing slowly, carefully, with the kind of honest communication she never had with Mason. Michael knows her story. He's read her book. He understands her scars. "I'll never lie to you," he tells her one night, "even when truth is uncomfortable, even when it might hurt. You deserve honesty, always." Whitney cries, grateful for a man who understands that trust, once broken, requires careful rebuilding. But then, something happens that forces Whitney to confront Megan one final time. Megan gets sick, breast cancer. The doctors give her a diagnosis but won't speculate on timelines. It depends on treatment, on how her body responds, on factors they can't predict. She needs surgery, chemotherapy, ongoing care. She has minimal insurance and no support system. Douglas provides medical expenses, not for Megan but for Owen's sake. A child shouldn't lose his mother, even if she's flawed. But Megan's reaching out to anyone who might help, including Whitney. This time, the call comes through Douglas. "Whitney, I hate to ask this, but Megan is very sick. The cancer is serious. She's asking to see you, to apologize before whatever happens." Whitney is silent for a long time. "Why would I give her that peace?" "I don't know. Maybe because you're better than she ever was. Maybe because you can afford the grace she never showed you. I'm not saying you owe her anything. I'm telling you she asked." Whitney considers. Part of her wants to refuse, to let Megan face whatever comes with her guilt. But another part, the part that's healed, that's moved forward, knows that seeing Megan isn't about giving her peace. It's about Whitney proving to herself that she's truly free. "I'll see her. Once. Briefly." She goes to the hospital on a cold afternoon in March. Megan is in a room that smells like antiseptic and fear. She looks small in the hospital bed, frail and barely recognizable from the woman who used to glow with confidence. Whitney sits in the chair beside the bed, says nothing, Megan opens her eyes. You came. I came. Thank you. Megan's voice is weak. I didn't think you would. I almost didn't. But I realize this isn't about you. It's about me. About proving I can face you and feel nothing. Do you? Feel nothing. Whitney examines her emotions honestly. Not nothing. I feel sorry for you. Not because you're sick, that's just biology, but because you destroyed your own life chasing something that was never real. You gave up a marriage, a family, financial security, respect, all for an affair that made you feel powerful. And now you're facing this alone with a son who will barely remember you and a man who can't stand to be in your presence. That's tragic. Megan's tears leak silently. I was jealous of you. From the moment Mason brought you to meet the family, you were everything I wasn't. Young, beautiful, educated, beloved. Men looked at you with respect. They looked at me like a trophy Douglas bought after his wife died. I wanted someone to want me the way Mason wanted you. So you took him. I seduced him. That very first night, I planned it. I wanted to prove I could, and then I couldn't stop. It became an addiction, the danger, the secrecy, the power of taking something that was yours. Whitney absorbs this. You didn't love him. No, I don't think I even liked him. I just liked winning, and then I got pregnant and thought maybe we could make it real, but we can't. We're poisoned together. We bring out the worst in each other. That's what happens when you build a relationship on betrayal. There's no foundation, just guilt and resentment. I'm sorry. Megan's voice cracks. I know that means nothing, but I'm sorry for hurting you, for betraying Douglas, for destroying so many lives because I was empty inside. Whitney stands. I accept your apology, not because it changes anything, but because carrying anger toward a sick woman serves no purpose. You're paying a price now, and I hope you use whatever time you have left to be honest with Owen, to tell him the truth so he doesn't repeat your mistakes. Will you tell him I loved him when he's older? Whitney studies Megan, sees genuine love for her child mixed with regret for everything else. I'll tell him you loved him, and I'll tell him what you did. Both truths, because he deserves to know all of who you were, not just the parts that make him comfortable. That's fair. That's more than I deserve. Whitney walks toward the door. Stops. Megan, I hope you find peace, real peace, not the false peace of affairs and secrets and stolen moments, but actual peace with who you were and what you did. Do you think that's possible? I don't know, but I hope so, for your sake and for Owen's. She leaves, doesn't look back. In the hallway, she finds Douglas waiting. How are you? He asks. I'm okay. She's sick and full of regret. It's sad, but it's not my tragedy to carry. You're remarkably compassionate. I'm not forgiving, I'm just done. There's a difference. They walk out together, two people who survived the same betrayal in different ways. Thank you for seeing her, Douglas says. She didn't deserve your grace. I didn't do it for her. I did it for me, to prove I could face my past without falling apart, and I did. I'm stronger than what they did to me. Douglas hugs her. Your father would be so proud. Whitney cries on his shoulder, grieving her father, grieving the marriage she thought she had, grieving everything that could have been different. But when she pulls away, she's smiling. Because grief isn't weakness. It's proof she loved deeply, and she'll love deeply again. Just more wisely this time. Chapter 10. The Woman Who Walked Away 3 years after Christmas. Whitney stands backstage at a national women's conference, waiting to deliver the keynote speech. Her second book is about to launch. Her consulting firm is thriving. Her relationship with Michael is solid, built on honesty and patience. She thinks about the woman she was, the one who believed love meant trusting completely, who thought marriage was forever, who'd have done anything to make Mason happy. That woman is gone, and Whitney doesn't mourn her. She walks onto the stage. 500 women stand and applaud. She sees herself in their faces, women healing, women fighting, women rising. Thank you for being here, she begins. 3 years ago, I discovered my husband had been having an affair with his stepmother since our wedding night. I stood in a hallway holding a sweet potato pie and heard him confess to his father. And in that moment, everything I believed about my life shattered. She tells her story, not for sympathy, for solidarity. I want to tell you what I learned. First, trust your instincts. I ignored so many signs because I wanted to believe in love. But love doesn't require you to doubt yourself. Real love is honest. If you're constantly explaining away behavior that bothers you, you're not being understanding. You're being manipulated. Women nod. Some cry. All listen. Second, you don't owe forgiveness. Society tells us we should forgive to heal, but healing and forgiveness are different. You can move forward without forgiving. You can rebuild without reconciling. Your peace doesn't require their absolution. Applause ripples through the room. Third, consequences aren't revenge. When I stopped protecting Mason from the truth of what he'd done, people called me vindictive, but I wasn't destroying him. He destroyed himself. I simply stopped helping him hide it. More applause, louder now. Fourth, you're not defined by betrayal. Yes, it changes you. It should, but you choose how. I could have become bitter, closed off, unable to trust. Instead, I became wiser, stronger, more certain of my worth. Standing ovation. And finally, your ending is yours to write. Mason and Megan tried to write me out of my own story, tried to make me the obstacle to their happiness. But I took my pen back. I wrote my own ending, and it's beautiful. She talks about her business, her book, her new relationship, about learning to trust again while maintaining boundaries. Some of you are in the hallway moment, standing there with your world falling apart. Others are months or years down the road. Wherever you are, hear this. You will survive, you will heal, and you will be stronger for it. Not because suffering makes you strong, but because choosing yourself, day after day, builds unshakable strength. She pauses, making eye contact across the room. I loved a man who didn't exist. The man I married was fiction. When I discovered the truth, I had to grieve two deaths, my marriage and the man I thought I knew. But here's what I learned. When you stop loving a ghost, you have room for real people. She shares her final truth. They thought breaking me would destroy me, but breaking was just the beginning, what I built from those pieces. That's the real story, and it's spectacular. The audience rises. The applause is deafening. After the speech, women line up to talk to her. Young women, old women, women of every background. You gave me permission to leave. You showed me I wasn't crazy. You proved that life goes on better than before. Whitney hugs them all, listens to their stories, offers what wisdom she can. That evening, she video calls Michael. He's home with his daughter from a previous marriage, a teenage girl who Whitney is slowly building a relationship with. How was the speech? He asks. Powerful, healing, necessary. I'm proud of you. Whitney smiles. I'm proud of me too. They talk about weekend plans, normal things, the beautiful mundane of a healthy relationship. When they hang up, Whitney sits on her hotel balcony, looking at city lights. She pulls out her journal. She writes every night now, processing, reflecting, growing. Tonight she writes, I learned that some people will betray you with those closest to you because they know that's where you'll never think to look. They weaponize your trust, your love, your loyalty. But I also learned this. Your strength was never dependent on them seeing your worth. You don't become valuable because someone recognizes your value. You are inherently worthy. I walked away from a man I loved with everything I had. And in doing so, I found myself, not the version that existed to support him, but the complete, whole, powerful version that was always there. This is my message. Walk away, not with bitterness, with dignity. Don't let someone else's betrayal define your ending. Write your own final chapter. She closes her journal, looks at her reflection in the window. She's different now. Harder in some ways, softer in others, but fundamentally, deeply, unbreakably whole. Mason took her innocence, but he couldn't take her spirit. Megan took her trust, but she couldn't take her capacity for hope. Together, they tried to break her. Instead, they forged her. And now, Whitney Reed stands in her power, not despite what happened to her, but because she chose to rise from it. She goes to bed that night grateful, not for the betrayal, but for who she became in response to it. Because the woman who loved a ghost is gone. And the woman who remains, she's unstoppable,